start off talking about what I think of as maybe the future of the Nexus. Uh, Quite frankly, the way it started off was I was walking into school one day. I teach at Delta Community College, and Doug Postel met me at the door and said, "How would you like to get involved in Chautauqua Nexus?" And I hadn't thought about the Nexus in years and years. I remember it um, going on ULM campus when Delta was on ULM campus in the old Conan building. I hadn't thought about it in years, and it caught me very much off guard, but it also thrilled me to my core. I mean, that was an idea, the notion of the Chautauqua, that just appealed to me so much. This notion of all of these people getting together and discussing ideas, talking about things. And Joe and I talked about this earlier, just right before we got together. What do I mean by themes? But talking about concrete things and ideas as concrete things. Really studying subjects, talking about them from multiple perspectives, and playing with ideas. And that just really excited me to no end. Listening to what Joe said kind of made me think about how I saw this as fitting a need for Delta Community College. In a strange sense, Delta Community College is struggling right now. And please don't tell anybody from PR that I said that. Not that we're struggling to keep the doors open or anything, but we've reached a strange point in our development. For the first 10 years of our existence, it was all about taking off, getting off the ground, getting the college started, getting a campus. For a time, ULM hosted us on their campus, but getting a campus of our own and getting a building. And we did that. And we're there now. And all of a sudden, things have changed. And I think we're in this sort of place where, as faculty members, I know, we don't quite know what to make of it. We have recently changed chancellors. A lot of our administration, the people who brought us to this point, have left, and kind of in a sort of in-between place. We don't know exactly where we're headed next. It's a great place to be in. We are ready to take off as a community college. But on the other hand, a lot of the things that held us together, again, as a faculty, I'm thinking about in particular, aren't really there anymore. We love our new building, we love our new campus, but one of the things that I loved about Conan was that we were all under one roof, and I saw everybody every day. Science professors, math professors, computer professors, we were all together. We were in a fairly small, tight space. And so the notion of talking to the chemistry professor at that time, Ed Hall, who was right next to me, talking about chemistry, and he is a big fan of theater, and so am I, so talking about theater, it's just what we did. I mean, that's how we sort of passed the time. Well, now we've gotten a little bit more spread out, and there's not that thing that pulls us together, that thing that makes us a group. And when Doug mentioned the Nexus and the idea of Delta getting involved in the Nexus, that was one of the first things that sort of popped into my head. This is something that our faculty needs. And I don't think it's just Delta's faculty. I think it's something that higher education in general needs, but also this community needs and America needs. A place for us to come together and to talk about ideas, to talk about what interests us, and to talk about what we're passionate about. In reading about the Nexus and reading about the history of the Nexus, I can't really give you a very good history of the Nexus, but I did get on the website and started playing around and learning a little bit about the history of the Chautauqua Institute, which really grew out of this Chautauqua movement and helped foster the Chautauqua movement, the traveling circus of the Chautauqua. But one of the things that caused the original founders of the Chautauqua to want to start an institute was the notion that there were many people in the country who didn't have the money and who didn't have the time to go to college. But these people wanted to study, wanted to learn, wanted to share in the intellectual life of college. And the Chautauqua Institute started as a way for these people to share in that. In a sense, they started the first correspondence courses in the country as a way to bring this sort of meeting of the minds to average people. I was reading an article the other day. It's called "The Folly of the Big Idea: How a Liberal Arts Education Puts Fads in Perspective," by a lady named Diana Senecal. This is in the American Educator, which is a journal of the American Federation of Teachers. But she talks about, in part, how in the United States, in a sense, we're getting back to that same dynamic in our culture, especially with the hammering that we've taken economically in the past 10 years. People have less time and people have less disposable income. People have less of a chance to indulge themselves in intellectual pursuits. They have less time to spend really doing anything other than getting and keeping a job. I know, really, as a teacher at Delta Community College, so many of my students are interested not so much in learning, although that's okay too. What they're really interested in is getting a degree and trading it in for a job. Education in general has become a whole lot more practically oriented, a whole lot more vocationally oriented. What we've kind of lost in all that, though, is thinking about themes, thinking about poems, thinking about proofs, thinking about experiments, thinking about historical documents. We don't really think about things so much. Um, One of the things that we talk about as educators a lot is how can we foster creative thought and critical thought in our students. But as Ms. Senecal points out in this article, it's very hard to think critically, to think creatively when you don't have much to think about. That creative thinking isn't born from up and saying, yes, I want to think creatively. It comes from studying things. It comes from studying subjects. It comes from studying ideas. And the Chautauqua Nexus, I think, brings those things together. Like I say, I think that it's a very valuable thing for my institution, for Delta. But I think it's even more interesting, again, like Joe was saying, these bringing people together, to be doing it with people from ULM and not just people from the two colleges in the area. I say two colleges in the area, the two colleges in Monroe, but Tech, Grambling, all of us. But to be talking to business people, to be talking to ordinary citizens, people who are interested in the kinds of things that we're interested in, and being able to come together in a public space and share ideas about life. One of the purposes of college, I've read this quote, is to make the inside of your head an interesting place to live in for the rest of your life. I think that's what the Chautauqua Nexus can do for all of us. So again, I've been thrilled with the opportunity to be a part of that, and I really look forward to it. My vision, yes, it really is this public forum for all elements of Monroe, hopefully all elements of Northeast Louisiana, to come together and have a chance to discuss what values we share and what values we don't share, what ideas interest us, and what passions turn us on, what gets us excited. And to do that in an entertaining way is the best way to do it. Hopefully with a few laughs along the way.